Charlie's in the garage working on a plane his wife Sarah gave him for his birthday. She interrupts him to let him know she's heading out soon for a business conference in London. She invites him to come along again, but he turns her down. He's swamped with work. Later on, Charlie heads to CIA headquarters. He passes through all the high-tech security scanners he actually invented, before getting to the decryption and analysis department where he works. Just as he settles in, he gets a message from Inquiline, a mysterious informant he's been in touch with for years. As usual, Inquiline has classified intel to sell, but this time they warn him, the documents could seriously jeopardize the CIA. Charlie tries guessing where Inquiline is and says Istanbul, but they brush it off. He starts analyzing the materials, but even someone with his level of genius can't crack the code right away. After taking a lunch break, he returns to his office and gets a call from Sarah. She tells him she's arrived in London, though Charlie already knows, he's been tracking her movements. The conversation is brief. He's more interested in diving back into the encrypted documents. Since he's still getting nowhere, he takes his computer to the restricted access lab where a more powerful system helps speed things up. Eventually he manages to decrypt the files, and what he finds stuns him. They're top-secret government documents exposing that a drone strike, disguised as a suicide bombing, was authorized and then covered up. News footage shows 150 casualties, including members of the French Special Forces and Danish Marines. The whole operation was orchestrated by Chief Moore, Charlie's boss. That night, Charlie tries calling Sarah but she doesn't pick up. He leaves a voicemail. The next day at work, he's surprised to find Moore waiting for him. Moore takes him to see O'Brien, who recently became CIA director. She informs him there's been a terrorist attack at a hotel in London. Sarah was one of the victims. Charlie refuses to accept it. He wants to call Sarah, but Moore shows him the news footage instead. The report describes how 4 terrorists stormed the hotel, took hostages and killed 2 of them. Then Moore shows him security footage from the hotel. Chaos unfolds and it's confirmed that Sarah was one of the victims. When Charlie gets home, a crowd of reporters is outside. Police try to keep them away. A friend helps him sneak inside without being overwhelmed. The next day, Charlie goes to Moore and Caleb, his supervisor, demanding answers. He's suspicious. He can't believe the terrorists evaded thousands of security cameras and even drove through London traffic unnoticed. Moore says they're investigating, but Caleb tells him to go home. Charlie picks up Sarah's body and belongings from the airport. At home he finds a gift she had bought him. It breaks him. Overcome with grief, he heads back to the CIA and uses the advanced computer system again. This time, he hacks into the hotel's security footage and surveillance from nearby streets. He puts together a timeline and shows it to his superiors. The terrorists stole a vehicle from East End, entered the hotel through a service entrance, and scrubbed all traces of prints and DNA. They had a scheduled meeting with a group called Impact Investments from Indonesia, but things went south. An argument broke out, and when one of the hotel security guards intervened, a terrorist opened fire, killing one and leaving another critically injured. Security was alerted and the police were called. To avoid being caught, the terrorists grabbed hostages, Sarah included, because she tried helping others escape. Charlie ran voice and facial recognition to identify the terrorists. Mishka from Moscow, a former South African Special Forces operative named Lawrence, a mercenary named Horst, and Gretchen, a former intelligence officer. But when he shares this info, he notices Moore and Caleb aren't surprised. They already knew. They tell him they're handling it and assign him to see a therapist. The next day, Charlie hides a chip inside his CIA badge and sneaks past the scanners undetected. At his desk, he prints the classified files and uses a skimmer to make a digital copy. That night, he goes to a bar and spends time just staring at a jukebox. The next morning, he confronts his bosses with the evidence. He lays out Moore's secret missions: bombing a Syrian hospital, striking an Allied base in Yemen, operations that killed thousands of civilians. He threatens to go public and reveals he set up a dead man's switch. If he doesn't enter a code every 5 hours, all the evidence will go to major news outlets. In exchange for his silence, Charlie demands full CIA training, fake passports, money, a gun, and intel on Sarah's killers. After the meeting, he gets in his car and throws up from the stress. Moore insists the dead man's switch is a bluff, but Caleb argues they can't risk it. They agree to keep looking for the trigger and plan a fatal accident during training if needed. Later, Caleb and his team try to figure out how Charlie copied the files. They guess he used a skimmer, not on the secured computers but on the printer. Checking the security footage, they confirm he bought a magnetic strip, though they still can't figure out how he smuggled it in and out. They search his house and find out he went to a certain bar twice. At the bar they check the jukebox and find an ABBA CD. When they select it, only static plays. They retrieve the CD, it's Charlie's data stash. Meanwhile, Charlie arrives at a CIA training center, where he's met by Colonel Henderson. Training begins at the shooting range. Charlie's a terrible shot and has to get close to the target to hit anything. But when it comes to building bombs, he's lightning fast, impressing everyone. Next up, learning his new identity. Henderson pushes him hard, physically and mentally, until Charlie can recite his cover story under extreme pressure. Then they finish the process with new passports. Later that night, Henderson visits his room. He tells Charlie he's not a killer, but Charlie insists he wants justice. Henderson gives him a gun and asks him to aim it at his chest. Charlie can't stop his hands from shaking and eventually lowers the weapon. Back at the agency, analysts finally decrypt the CD and realize Charlie was bluffing about the dead man's switch. They alert the higher-ups, unaware Charlie's still spying on them. Turns out the chip in his badge was actually a bug and he planted it on the files he gave Moore. Moore calls Henderson and tells him to arrest Charlie, but it's too late, Charlie's already gone. When Moore discovers the bug, he contacts Charlie directly, accusing him of treason. Charlie tosses his earpiece and boards a plane. He lands in London, clears customs and heads to Paris. When his fake passport triggers the CIA system, Moore sends Henderson after him. In Paris, Charlie books a room near a restaurant Gretchen frequents. He eventually sees her and starts tracking her phone. He spends the day outside her building. When someone opens the door, he slips in and uses a video tutorial to pick the lock on her apartment. He photographs her schedule and finds a gun in a drawer, which he takes. Suddenly, his tracker warns him she's coming back, so he hides in the stairwell. But when she enters, he can't pull the trigger. Feeling like a failure, he retreats to his hotel and imagines Sarah is waiting for him. Once calm, he studies Gretchen's schedule and sees she visits the hospital regularly. Hacking her medical records reveals she has severe allergies. The next morning, Charlie buys a ton of flowers. He waits at a cafe, spots Gretchen and tails her to the hospital. While she's in a test room, the doctor steps out to deal with a computer glitch. Charlie sneaks in, dressed like a doctor, and locks Gretchen inside the machine. As she starts panicking, he fills the chamber with pollen. The doctor and nurse hear the noise but can't open the locked door. Gretchen begins to suffocate. Charlie says he'll help, if she tells him where Horst is, since he's the one who shot Sarah. But she can't speak through her allergic reaction. Charlie opens the chamber to help, but she fights back. They wrestle across the room. Charlie pulls a gun, but Gretchen knocks him down and escapes. He chases her out into the street. Just as he's about to shoot, she gets hit by a car. Shaken, Charlie grabs her phone from her body and runs, tossing the lab coat in the trash. At the hotel, he cleans up the blood and packs his things. That night, he heads to the bus station and buys a ticket to Marseille. Word of Gretchen's death reaches the CIA. O'Brien questions Moore, who suggests one of their own might have killed her. That night, Charlie drowns his guilt in alcohol at a bar. He thinks he sees Sarah dancing but realizes it's just someone who looks like her. Then he notices Henderson closing in. Charlie panics, pushes through the crowd and escapes into the streets, ducking into another bar to hide. Henderson follows him there too, so Charlie rushes into the bathroom and locks the door. With no windows in the bathroom, Charlie has no choice but to come out. He joins Henderson at the bar, where Henderson reveals he tracked Charlie by tracing Gretchen's phone. After a quick exchange, Charlie shows Henderson a countdown timer on his phone and bolts, just moments before a bomb goes off in the bathroom. The explosion throws the bar into chaos, and Henderson loses sight of Charlie. Even the tracker on Charlie's phone stops working. The next morning, Charlie contacts Inquiline for help and sneaks onto a cargo plane headed to Turkey. In Istanbul, he stops by a restaurant and texts her. He notices a man's phone ringing and tries to approach him, but a woman stops him and tells him to check his phone. When he leaves the restaurant, the same woman follows and confirms she's Inquiline. She already knows about Sarah. She tells Charlie to stash his hat and backpack in a shopping bag and pretend to shop for a while before meeting her in a nearby garage. A little later, she picks him up and drives him to her place. On the way, she explains how she became a hacker 6 years ago after her husband died. He was a CIA asset embedded in Russian intelligence, the original Inquiline, who taught her everything. Officially, he fell out of a window. At her home, Inquiline says this is the longest she's stayed in one place, 3 years, and admits she's exhausted from constantly being on the run. If the Russians ever find her, she's ready to end things on her own terms. They shift gears and start discussing the mission. Horst is the guy hiring mercenaries for Moore. Lawrence is an arms dealer, and Inqueline offers to pose as one herself to reach him. Then there's Mishka, who's always posting his travels online. In one of his photos they spot a woman run a facial recognition search and find her Instagram. She's currently in Spain. Meanwhile, back at CIA headquarters, Caleb orders his team to monitor the terrorists, hoping they'll lead them to Charlie. O'Brien meets with Moore and warns him to stop running black ops behind her back. Moore says he heard the same thing from her predecessor and gave them the same answer. He'll cooperate fully. After the meeting, O'Brien's assistant shows her a photo of Henderson in Spain. Realizing Moore sent him, she dispatches one of her own agents to trail him. Charlie and Inqueline locate Mishka by tapping into a hotel's security cameras. Charlie heads to Madrid and books a room at the same hotel. He learns Mishka loves swimming in a rooftop pool that connects two buildings. Meanwhile, Henderson tracks him to the area. The next day, Charlie builds a device to trap Mishka and hides it at the hotel. That night, he follows Mishka to the bar, unaware that Henderson is watching from the lobby. Charlie spots a suspicious man, someone he's seen before, and realizes he's being tailed. He alerts Inqueline through his earpiece. She runs a facial search and confirms the guy is CIA. She also spots Henderson and urges Charlie to abort. But Charlie sticks to the plan. When Mishka heads to the pool, Charlie confronts him and demands to know where Horst is. Mishka laughs it off, but Charlie presses a button, and the glass floor of the pool begins to crack. Mishka panics and swims for his life, but it's too late. The glass shatters. He falls to his death as water crashes down onto the street below. Inqueline warns Charlie that Henderson and the other agent are closing in. She gives him an escape route. As Charlie runs, Henderson nearly catches up, until the other agent tackles him. The two agents brawl in the hotel's laundry room, slamming each other into machines. The agent pulls a gun and shoots Henderson, but Henderson grabs it back and returns fire. Charlie watches the fight, unsure whether to help. Inqueline reminds him to get out, so he runs. The next day, O'Brien calls Moore into her office and asks about Charlie. Moore claims he's on bereavement leave. She lets him go but reveals she has hotel footage. Meanwhile, Caleb's team analyzes the same video and notices Charlie had help. They dig through his encrypted messages and finally uncover the name Inqueline. After more digging, they find the file of the original Inqueline, the deceased CIA agent, and figure out his wife must have taken over his identity. That night, Charlie and Inqueline agree to sleep near each other for comfort. But they're jolted awake by her bird screeching. On the security cameras they see a team of agents closing in. They flee through a hidden tunnel behind the wall. As they escape, Charlie spots a drone overhead. They sneak into another building and manage to slip away just before agents storm the house. The computer system is already erasing everything. There's nothing left for the CIA to recover. The two run down to the beach, make it to Inqueline's car and are spotted by the drone. Agents open fire, even chasing them by boat. After a long, intense pursuit, the agents shoot up the car, and Inqueline is fatally wounded. Charlie shifts her to the passenger seat and takes over the wheel, driving until he finally loses the pursuers. Later, Charlie hides the car in a garage and says a final goodbye to Inqueline. The next day, Charlie reaches out to Lawrence and pretends to be an arms dealer to set up a meeting. He buys some electronics and travels to Romania. In an abandoned building, he records his own face and hacks a Berlin security feed, tricking the CIA into thinking he's in Germany. When Lawrence shows up, he finds a ringing phone on a chair. Charlie tells him to check inside a nearby box. It's full of bombs. If Lawrence moves, they'll explode. He notices a photo of Sarah in the box just as Charlie appears, demanding Horst's location. He promises to disarm the bombs if Lawrence cooperates. Lawrence explains Horst operates out of Russian waters and usually takes deliveries at a Baltic seaport. Charlie asks how to contact him. Lawrence says Horst only communicates using encrypted codes passed by his men. All the info is in his phone, which he tosses on the ground. Charlie grabs the phone, walks away, and moments later hears the bombs go off, killing Lawrence. The CIA soon finds out about Lawrence's death and realizes the Berlin footage was fake. Later, at a hotel in Russia, Charlie imagines Sarah with him and opens the last gift she ever gave him. It's a puzzle. He solves it quickly and finds a heartfelt message from her inside. The next morning, Charlie heads to the seaport and spots a suspicious car. He sends one of Horst's coded messages, then watches as a man checks his phone. Charlie follows him and photographs his boat. After buying some tools, he traces the yacht that matches the boat's registration number. He also studies the nearby sea routes Horst might use. The following morning, Charlie approaches the boat, but someone sneaks up and knocks him out. He drops Sarah's puzzle. Charlie wakes up on the yacht, face to face with Horst, who's already found the bomb Charlie planted earlier. Horst remarks that Charlie has only killed indirectly so far and dares him to do it in person. He hands Charlie a gun. But Charlie can't go through with it and lowers the weapon. Suddenly, the yacht changes course and starts heading in the opposite direction. The crew panics. Charlie reveals he hacked into the CIA-administered yacht's controls. Since he helped design the yacht's security protocols, it was easy for him to redirect it to Finland. Soon, the Finnish Navy and Interpol arrive and arrest Horst and his crew. Later, O'Brien holds a press conference and announces the arrest of multiple rogue agents who were misusing CIA resources for personal gain. Afterward, Henderson tells Charlie he's proud of everything he's done. Charlie visits Sarah's grave one last time. Then, finally, he takes her plane up into the sky for its first flight. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss more stories like this. Thanks for watching.